Well, YouTube world and YouTube tribe. We are here at Stargirl. This was a very interesting episode, man. It answered a lot of questions, and finally we get a lot of questions answered about Dr. Midnighter. But you see what the title is? It's a review, so we're gonna get into all that. Synopsis. After a frightening encounter leaves Courtney's life hanging in the balance, the team band together to determine their next steps. So, I think this episode picks up like basically where it ended, where with Pat and them returning home and pretty much not knowing what to do. Beth and I forgot her name already. Green Lantern's daughter. Everybody's at Pat's house grieving the loss of Courtney. Because they think what they saw is basically Courtney's death. They thought Courtney is dead, just like Cindy and Dr. Midnighter. They thought, man, this is probably just the end of it, right? So, and while they're grieving, we cut to the next scene in progress, which is Courtney waking up and realizing she's in Blue Valley. But it's weird. She notices that even though she's in Blue Valley, she noticed that she's in black and white. It wasn't just like black and white for our sake. She actually could see that everything's black and white. And she realized she's weirdly in Blue Valley. She sees like a preacher just walks up to her and says, "Good evening, young lady." And she's wondering what's going on. And she goes to this diner to meet with she goes to this diner to basically to meet one of her classmates from earlier in the season, where the dude was trying to do a magic trick, and he goofed up. Like it was like the pick a card any card type of trick, where you gotta pick a card, put it back in, and he supposed to make the card that you pick come forth and be like, was this your card? The trick that he messed up in the episode, he messed up the trick, but Courtney, not wanting the boy to be embarrassed, she pretended that was her card. And in this world, he does the trick again to her, and he once again, and it messes it up. But before she could say anything or bring to attention, I think she was pretty much. It looked like she might was going to lie to him again. He's like, "You're not going to lie to me again, are you?" Like I thought I was gonna be a good magician. I know I messed up the trick, but you made me. You said I did. And, it's like the people in the diner started basically turning on Courtney because Courtney, they felt like Courtney did something that was bad for her to have lied to him, and made him feel like he did the trick right when deep down he had messed it up. Like I guess it was trying to reveal that even he knew that Courtney took pity on him and then kind of messed with him. So this world's kind of messing with her, but trying to get away from the people. She opens the door. She opens the door back from the diner, but this time it was a white light. She goes through it, and now she's in school. And she sees the door behind her closed, and when she opened it, it's just a classroom instead of the diner. So she's trying to figure out what's going on, and she sees the fiddler, and she sees the fiddler's son and mother standing in the hallway while everybody else is walking. And I think the fiddler's mother was like, "New kids always make the school bad," or something like that. And Courtney is just like at awe, and then she's attacked by none other than Cindy. Cindy is basically trying to beat up on Courtney, and she cuts Courtney, and she sees that Courtney's blood is red, and that's the only thing that has color. The cut is the only thing that has color in this world that's red, and she realized Courtney is real. She's not. It turns out that Courtney she thought Courtney was just a hallucination of this world, but when she realized that Courtney was showing signs of blood and actually was bleeding, she realized that Courtney was real, because she tells her, she was like, you know, how do you know I'm real? And she said, because people in this world don't bleed, and you're bleeding, so therefore I know you're real. So you got trapped here too, huh? And Cindy even revealed to Courtney that she was mad at Courtney for because she blamed Courtney for her being trapped there too. And she was like, "What do you mean me being? I didn't trap you here." She's like, "No, you did by letting go of me." She said, "I was trying to save your life, you psycho." But I think this was like a further scene in the episode, but it was a heart to heart scene that they was having with each other. But I get to it in a minute. So Cindy, while Cindy and her having this conversation about her being real in the hallway, we see the apparition of Cindy's father, who is walking down the street, down the hall, saying, "No, it's time for more tests." And she's like, "You know what? We're not going through this again." She grabs Courtney, and another door with white light opens, and they ended up in this child's bedroom. And Cindy proceeds to explain what this world is, and she said, for people like me and you who gets trapped here, it's like, she said, what is like the Bible term for it? Purgatory. She said, for us, it's like it's purgatory, and she said when people like us are here, we're hit with our worst fears and regrets and stuff. So Calypso could feed off of it. She explains to her that this place. She tells Courtney that this is the Shadowlands, and that this place basically feeds on our mistakes and our guilt and our hurt to feed the Calypso. And she informs her that Calypso was born here. So this is where we're basically in the place of his origins, where he was birthed from. And at the same time, we see Green Lantern's daughter and Beth. They're like in Courtney's room when Beth is like crying because she thought she lost Courtney forever. She comes to console her, and they basically have a talk about basically how they both feel like they failed and could have did something more. Especially the Green Lantern's daughter, she said, I have more control over the powers and stuff, and not always losing control and stuff. Maybe I could have did more to help Courtney and save Courtney. Back to Courtney and them, Cindy and her basically had this argument where I think she like asked like Cindy, how did we get out of here? And Cindy like pretty much said, you don't. She said, of course you would give up on looking for a way out of here. She said, but I'm not. She said good, because for a person like you, you won't last long in here. And she was like, what is that supposed to mean? She said you're goody two shoes. You're this, you're this and that. You're pure and righteous. She said, but everybody got a dark side, and at least I embrace mine. She said, I embrace my dark side. That's why I'm a survivor. That's how I've been surviving here, is that I embrace my dark side and don't let what this place try to torment you with get to me. But she said, for you don't like to confront your dark side or believe you have one, so this place is gonna be torturous for you. So you better find a way. But during this argument, Courtney would get mad and storm out, and she would run into basically like a living room where she was greeted by her mother, who basically was talking to her like she was the babysitter, and she informs Courtney that she's got to go to a job, she's got to go do this and that. I think she was like saying something about working doubles or something like that. But then it started turning nightmares. Her conversation with her, she said, I do everything for that girl, and all she could ask is about her father and where her father was and all this, that, and that. She always want her father, but she never appreciates what I do for her. And then the sacrifices I had, because I think she said she had a PhD or something like that. And you know I'm doing our wedding tables and doing this type of stuff to take care of you it got very dark to where Cindy basically opened the door to where she was, grabbed Courtney back into the room where she said, "What was that? That wasn't my mom." And she was like, "It seems like that was your mom wishing that you was never born." And she said, "My mother would never do that." She said, "That's what this place does. It shows you your worst fears and guilt. It must be you must deep down think that you know must think that she resents you ever being born." But they have a conversation. They have that's when this heart to heart conversation comes to into play, where they get into an argument about her blaming Courtney for her being there, and that she said, "You know, I'm here because you let go of me." She said, "I was trying to save your life, you psycho. You the one who brought Eclipso into our lives. This is all your fault." She said, because I think what started the argument was Cindy blamed Courtney for everything that's happened with Eclipso and stuff. But Courtney, that's when she called her a psycho, because she's like, "How could you blame me and you're the one who brought Eclipso into this? Like, you the one who brought him here to Blue Valley." And she said, "I had to. I needed his power to extinguish your light. You started this by being a goody two shoes." And she said, "The only you destroyed my father and his friends, and they planned the ISA." And she said, only thing I could think of to defeat you was use Eclipso's power, to use his darkness to extinguish your light, and that's why I did what I did." That when they had this argument, I think Cindy said something, tell Eclipso. I think Eclipso could basically like hear them while they in that world, and she basically like challenges him to do something better because she's not afraid of her father. And then you see the room where they're in, the wall is like now a dark void, and these people come out and grab Cindy, and Courtney gives chase to Cindy, only to be in that area that we always see Dr. Midnight in, with all the black, it's like gray and black, and she's surrounded by nothing but darkness and these black shadow like waves and stuff like that. But then that's when Dr. McNider comes into play, grabs Courtney and yank her. Now they in the JSA headquarters, and the basically where starts to keep the car. And this is her first time meeting Dr. Midnight. She realized it's the true Dr. Midnight, that he really ain't dead, just like him, just like her and Cindy. He's trapped too in the Shadowlands, and he reveals to her that. And the reason why, he doesn't see what she's seeing. Like, for her, she's seeing the JSA basement headquarters where the car is at. But Dr. Midnight said all he sees is black shadowy waves and the gray skies and stuff, like we always see him walking in. And that's because of the goggles. He said when you even in this realm, you put on the goggles, everything around you, the illusion that you see around you will be gone, and you'll see what he's been seeing the whole time. And he even showed her, and to prove that he was real, and to show what he was talking about. But he told her to be quick about it, because once he take off the goggles, he was hit by his regret, which is in the form of his daughter always yelling out to him, "Why weren't you there, Daddy? Where were you?" And you see him sitting there in pain because they hear his daughter his voice cry out for him and blame him. And Courtney realizing he's telling the truth, and seeing that the illusion around her turned into that black voided place that she was just in. She hurdles to take it off and give it back to Dr. Midnighter, and he explains that without the goggles, that's what he hear. He hear one thing, and that's his daughter always calling off of him, blaming him for her death. So in doing so, Dr. Midnight uses the goggles to contact Beth, who's still in this room with Green Lantern's daughter, and Courtney's room with Green Lantern's daughter, and he hears the plan. So they run and inform Pat and them that not only was she right that Dr. Midnighter is alive, but that Courtney is alive too, and with Dr. Midnighter. So she explains to them that they are stuck in the Shadowlands, and that he explained to her that the only way for them to get out of there is to find the Shade. The Shade can open a portal to the Shadowlands, freeing them. And just like how he opened a portal to it to trap Dr. Midnighter in there, he could use the same portal to free them from it. And I think they do like a little. They use Green Lantern's ring to locate where he could be, and he was like at this. Oh, he was at it had two different energy signatures, but they found the one that was at this movie theater. And Pat and Barbara goes, and they see the shade right there, and he's basically like, "Oh, y'all found me." He said, "Well, you didn't get very far, did you?" That yeah, thanks to I guess Eclipse doing something to the diamond, it stopped his healing process, so he was getting weaker again. But they basically, Barbara basically begs the Shade to help them, and that they need that they were talking about Dr. Midnighter, that he's the only one who can save them. He's like, "Wait a minute, what? Who? Are you sure? When did he say this?" He was like, "Today." And that's what, no, at first he was like, he was nonchalant about what Pat mentioned, and he was like, "Oh, really?" And when did Dr. Midnighter say this? And he went back to watching the movie, and what Pat said tonight, or today, he jumps up and realized that, he's like, "Wait a minute, what? Did you, I didn't know that he was still in there this long. I would have, now it was all this, what he would have did." I think he said he would have basically like went and found him. He found some detectives or did it himself. He would have not found some detective, but he would have went back in there and found him himself. And he had known that Dr. Midnighter was still in there. And Courtney is being told by Dr. Midnighter, him and the Shade's special bond, and it showed that the Shade had humanity, as he was just as heartbroken about Dr. Midnighter's daughter being murdered by Eclipse than anything, as like he explained to Courtney, he's evil, but then there's true evil. And he said for him, he's not really evil, he just so much just, he likes playing on the wrong side because it's more funner. Whereas Eclipse is purely evil, and he doesn't care about anything. So he explains her bond, and thanks to Barbara, the Shade reluctantly agrees by holding his hand out and turning the movie screen into a portal between them. As Cindy and Dr. Midnight sees that the portal open, they communicate with the mom, and they realize she could get back. But then she's like, "Wait a minute, we can't leave Cindy in here." So she tells them, "We'll be right back." And they go out to rescue Cindy, who was basically in the clutches of her evil father, being also tormented by her mother's memory. It was so much stuff going on, some stuff I want to say obviously for you to watch. But yeah, there was a fight, and there was a death. There was a death and a fight, and I was like, "Ooh." Oh man, that was not what I thought that was gonna be. I thought Shade or Eclipse was gonna be like the villains of this, and it was just like, oh, well, that happened. But yeah, so there was a clip that I think there was a cliffhanger. I'm not sure. I can't remember if it was or it wasn't. But this was a great episode, man. I enjoyed this episode, and I think if I were to give this episode anything, I would give this episode a I'm debating. No, I'm going to be generous for the fact that this episode basically gave us everything we was looking for in terms of a progression in the story, and because the episode was basically gave us the backstory of what happened to Dr. Midnighter and how he became to be in this predicament. I give this episode 9.5 big ups, because it wasn't a perfect 10, but it was a very good episode, and it was a very good episode to dive into to see what's what and how they do and how they was going about the defeating the Eclipso. And I haven't seen it, but I heard that it's pretty much in that promo for the next episode. They gearing up to for their final battle with Eclipso. But that's all I got. And if you enjoyed this video, then hit that button right there in the upper right corner for all of my reviews. And if you truly enjoy, you want to support the channel, then hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, become part of the fam, become part of the tribe like so many people have done already, and hit that notification button so you get notified when I drop videos. And as always, hit any of these videos for more of my amazing content. But I'll be back at you tomorrow. Tomorrow with more reviews. I think SmackDown and that Chucky episode 2 review. But that's all for now, so peace out. See you later.